Welcome to the Best Damn Coach Show. Friends, I'm glad you're here. We're talking about time management today. The reason being is we had a mixer recently in the BDC so that all of my coaches could just have time connecting with each other, talking about growing their network, talking about referrals. We gave away fun prizes and we had multiple breakout sessions. And in one of the breakout sessions, I asked them to share a time management strategy or tactic or hack that was extremely effective for them. And I had the luxury of bouncing into multiple breakout rooms to kind of listen in. And I found myself getting a sticky note out like, oh, these are good. And then I had this light bulb moment. You guys need to hear some of these. And so I picked the top three. I'm going to actually give you a bonus fourth today, just because I think that it's an awesome idea, so that you can help manage your time better too. I know you need this episode because you're like me. You don't just coach, right? You have other hats that you wear inside of your life. So you're a parent, maybe you're a spouse, you're a friend, you're a child, daughter, son. You have other hats that you wear and you have other desires outside of business and you have a house to run and you have, bills to pay and all of those adulting things that we do have to do. And so the reality is we aren't ever getting more time in our day, no matter how awesome you think you are and how much you can bend time. There's no more than 24 hours. And so the way we control time is with two things: our mind and how we think about it, and the capacity we create for it, and the energy we bring towards time. And second is through the daily routines, habits, strategies that help us, set boundaries around time. I just cannot I I honestly think that this is the one area that all of us coaches, no matter what niche you coach in, you 100% will deal with time management as an area that your client needs coaching because they hired you to help them create a result. Whether it's, you're a coach that's helping somebody, create weight loss, you're a coach helping them get out of debt, you're a coach that's helping them start a podcast, you're a coach helping them grow their business. They have to create time to implement the things that you are teaching them inside of your coaching. And so a lot of us, though, don't have positive time management principles in place. So we think just because we're really good at checklists that is the thing. I'm not going to be talking about checklists today. It's actually not necessarily the answer. Sometimes checklists, in fact, make us more overwhelmed and less productive. Depends on the person. But sometimes we think that it's a outside issue, that it's like I need more strategy, I need this, I need that. And when reality is we need more focus time to achieve the things that we desire in our life. And prioritizing time is an art and it is a science. And I've worked with clients who have grown their businesses, mothers who have four children all under the age of 5, and all she has every day to give is 2 hours a day, 5 times a week. And that's what she's building a business in the confines of success. In fact, she is making enough money now to pay for her private school, private school for her kids' education. And then we have people that have 40 hours to give who are getting less done in that time. And I always use this example, but the time you are given is the time you will take. And so if you think back to college or in high school, if a professor assigned you an essay and gave you 1 month to do it, it'll take you the month. You'll probably wait till like the last week and get going on it. But if they said the essay's due tomorrow, boom, you will get it done. And so we want to take that same mindset into our business. And no matter what hours you feel like you have available, is not being a victim to them, but actually being at cause and taking ownership of them. And so I decided I was going to really elaborate on 3 specific time management strategies to get more hours back in your week and to increase your productivity, which is directly tied to, guess what? Profitability. And if you're like me, my client service is the most important thing. And so that takes up, the most of our time. Course or creation of content for my people, coaching my people. And so some of those other tasks are not my favorites. And so I want to make sure that I'm streamlined with them specifically. So I'm going to start with one that is very simple and overlooked. And so if you're struggling with time management, one of the reasons I often see is that we don't give ourselves the space to accomplish a task that it deserves. So we're like, oh, I can totally get that done in 30 minutes. But in reality, it's usually more like an hour. And so then we get stuck in that task. We're like, but I didn't get it done. And so what I actually like to do is switch the thinking around a little bit. And instead of thinking about the time thing has to get done, I actually like to work within timers. So I set out to accomplish something and I will set a timer. So I'll give myself 20 minutes to complete a task, or an hour to complete a task, or 2 hours to complete a task. So I have this, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see because I'm holding it. I have this handy dandy like charger slash stand for my cell phone. It stays right here at my desk. When I'm about to set a timer, I pop my phone right into it. I set my timer, and then that is what directs me. At the end of the timer, I just let it be until I come back to it again. So it gives me the space and time to just get done what I can get done. And what it also does, I believe, is it kind of lets it be messy, and it starts to test and push against some of those perfectionist tendencies that many of you have. It's like, it's got to be perfect. It's got to be cookie cutter. And in doing that, it just wastes so much time. So timers are effective. And what I share isn't just about business, it's also about your life. So if you're working on another task and, like I'm thinking of a task that I've been working on and I just finished it. I feel like, oh, this weight is lifted, is my freaking taxes. I had to set timers for taxes because I resist taxes. And it's not that I don't even do my taxes, but just making sure that our tax strategist has all of the details possible. It's like all the spreadsheets possible and all the fine numbers just to make sure they have what they need. And so I had to do that in chunks with timers because it was such a big task. So this is a way, instead of breaking into small pieces, you're breaking it down into time pieces. And I find this works really well for a lot of clients. Tip number 2 will change your life. So the other thing that I love and have used for years and years, and again, I'll put the link into the show notes to my timer stand and also to this. But if you're watching on YouTube, this is my law of attraction planner. I am not endorsed. This is not an ad. This is just me loving a product for years to come. And I think you'll love it too. But the backstory is I keep 2 calendars. I keep a digital calendar through Google Calendar. This is where my clients schedule appointments, calls are scheduled. We have a family shared calendar, recurring tasks that I complete weekly on my calendar, all of those things set there. But that also leaves an amount of white space, obviously, for things that I don't have booked in those spaces. So every Sunday, I sit down and I do my grounding day, which is the day I look ahead at my week and really proactively plan not just my business, but my life and actually my food. So I meal plan based on our life as well. That's another phase of the grounding day process. And so because this journal has open spaces, you can see here, sort of in the camera, what I go in and do then is once I've scheduled all the mandatory non-negotiable appointments, calls, etc., that I have, inside of those white spaces, I begin to time block, but not in a traditional sense. I don't love time blocking as a time constraint. I actually like outcome blocking. And so I will do a brain dump of all the things that I desire to get accomplished, all the things I need to get accomplished based on our, company timelines. And then what I do inside of the chunks of time is I write down the specific outcome I will be accomplishing in that time frame. So right now, for instance, I didn't just write podcasting at this time block. I wrote record April 2nd session on time management. So I knew that when I arrived at that moment on my calendar, I knew exactly what I was going to be doing. Because a lot of time gets wasted in the resituating yourself of like, what am I going to be doing? What should I be doing? Oh, I wrote podcasting, but what podcast should I be doing? Or it says social media. What social media should I be doing? Instead, if you wrote schedule social media for week of 24th, then you would know exactly what you're going to be doing. And so that isn't done in the moment. Successful entrepreneurs make proactive decisions about how they're going to spend their time. So if you are fly by your seat of their pants all the time, this is why you're not productive or you're missing out on opportunities to be more productive. The half hour to hour I spend every Sunday solidifies why I'm able to do what I'm able to do and only work while, in the traditional hours. And I don't work, most Fridays or very lightly on Fridays, as I typically have a short 4-hour work week. And that's because I'm very intentional about how I schedule out the rest of the time. And I write specific outcomes that will be in those spaces. So pushing out time blocking and welcoming in outcome blocking. Yay to that. Okay, tip number 3 is, I think, an unsung hero of time management. And I'm leaving this for last because I do think this is the largest fish to fry. And one of the things that I actually think will support your time management is a consistent wake up and sleep time. I know, don't throw rocks at me or anything. But the truth is, I see a lot of coaches struggling with this because they're like, "Oh, well, one night I just felt so good. I stayed up till 2 in the morning," and then they couldn't even, you know, get up at a reasonable time the next day, or they had to get up to take care of their kids and they were wiped out all day, so they didn't do anything all day, or they weren't productive. But what I find actually is I am the most productive, and so are my clients, when they have a consistent wake up and sleep time. Because what it does is it sets up your rhythms. You wake up, you have this consistent, movement throughout the day, not physical movement, but just productivity throughout the day. You feel tired at the right times consistently. You go to bed at the right times. You're ready to wake up. And so you don't have this roller coaster of feeling exhausted, depleted, energized, depleted all the time. There is this expectation. And that doesn't mean it has to be like mine. It doesn't mean it has to be, you might be a night owl. That's fine. Then honor that and be consistent about when you work. Go to bed at that 11 o'clock time and let yourself then have a consistent wake time, whatever, 7 o'clock or something, getting up, 8 hours in. For me, I like to wake up early, and that's also being challenged because I'm getting into that teenage phase where it's harder. Their activities go later. And so I like to get to that 10 to 5 or 10 to 6 kind of wake up space if I can get to bed before 10, 9 o'clock, but somewhere in that vein. But that consistency then creates steady energy throughout the day. And when we have steady energy, we have steady productivity. And we're not trying to reach for coffee and try to do other things that aren't good for our hormone system and our stress levels, but we're doing it with good old fashioned rest, right? Totally this unsung hero from my perspective of um, for time management. So there's the 3 big strategies. I'll go over them again. Number 1, use timers. Number 2, schedule outcome goals instead of time blocking. And number 3, consistent nightly and bedtime routines so that you're going to bed consistent and waking up. I know you might have been hoping for something fancier, but it's always basic. It's always the most basic stuff that we go back to that we realize we've probably neglected. And when we put those back in, our productivity and energy is totally tightened up and we just feel our best selves. However, I want to talk more about an interesting one that kept coming up from many of my clients. And again, I am not endorsed by this community or program, but I really love the concept. And I think that many of you will also. I'm going to put a link to them directly in the show notes as well. But one of the things that so many of them love is something called Focusmate. So it's basically like virtual co-working for getting stuff done. I did this with my friends and still do it with my friends, my colleagues consistently. We schedule time, we come together on Zoom, and then we say, this is what I'm going to be accomplishing in this time. This is what I'm going to be accomplishing in this time. And then we turn off our cameras and we work simultaneously and then check in on the productivity at the other end. What Focusmate, though, does is creates these opportunities for you to do this with somebody that also needs the accountability. And it's a very reasonable price investment. But essentially, what you do is hop on, you book a session. You join the video call, you say, hey, to your whoever's on the other end, you share your goals for that networking session. And then at the end, you come back and you celebrate your progress. It's virtual accountability. But now, and you can choose, I think, the sessions like half-hour sessions all the way to 90-minute sessions. And you can check out all the features here. But if you're somebody that's struggling with productivity and timers or resistance to tasks specifically, Focusmate might be a really great opportunity for you to dive in more deeply. And again, I'll put the links to all the things that I mentioned today, including Focusmate, my Law of Attraction Planner, my stand, if you need more tech for your office space just to make it smooth and seamless. But what I really want to leave this conversation saying is when you control your time, you control your destiny. And being a victim to your time and living inside of statements like, I'm so overwhelmed, there's so much to do, will create just that for you. Instead, What I want to encourage you to understand is you can build a business on 1 hour a day, 4 days a week. Like if you want it, you will make it happen. It's about spending proactive time deciding where you're going to spend that energy, which is something we're constantly having discussions around inside the Best Damn Coach is where should that energy, that strategy time be focused? And so if you have questions or you want to be in the community of other like-minded people that are creating these opportunities to really advance their coaching practice, I would love to have you inside the BDC. Of course, you can learn more if you visit amanda-walker.com/best damn coach. So I hope this episode inspires you to go out and really fine tune your time management practices. And if you have questions, please head on over to Instagram, send me a DM. That's the best place. If you want to learn more about the BDC, that's the best place to chit chat with me as well. And until next time, I hope you go out and coach them up.